Good morning and welcome to Lattes and Leaders with Dr. Brad Johnson, best-selling author and accomplished public speaker specializing in education and educational leadership. I am your co-host, Jeremy Johnson, organizational psychology consultant specializing in career coaching, training, and development. Meet us here each week to discuss topics in education and leadership and meet with some of the top education talent and thought partners from across the globe. So grab your latte, sit back, and enjoy a relaxed conversation that will leave you informed and encouraged.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lattes and Leaders. We have a very special guest with us today, Heidie Buffomante.
You got
Welcome.
it. Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Well, thank you for being here and for coming and taking the time to share a little bit of your story.
Absolutely.
You know, we like to get the experiences and just some of the things that educational leaders are doing different or great, innovative around the world, really. So we appreciate you taking the time to come by and share a little bit. So if you don't mind to just kick us off, just share a little bit about your educational journey and how it got you to where you are now.
You got it. First and foremost, I love school. Since I began talking, I was in the basement with my sister playing school, and I've been in school ever since I've been able to talk. I first was certified to be an elementary teacher. Absolutely adored that. Did that in the city of Buffalo. From there, I went on and got a certification to teach English 7 to 12. So moved from elementary school to middle and high and really enjoyed that work. During that time, what I'm most proud of when I was a teacher, I was influenced by this incredible trailblazer, Dr. Javon Hunter, who really saw something in me and the way in which I saw or felt it necessary that all kids felt seen, heard, and valued. So as a teacher, I did action research. It was published in the English Journal. And then I co-presented alongside Dr. Hunter and students on local, state, and national stages about the ways in which we used their identity in culturally responsive pedagogies in the classroom. So those were highlights from when I was a teacher. And then someone tapped my shoulder, Mr. Rob Accaccio, and he said, I really see you as a leader. And very quickly after that, got my certification, started off as an assistant principal again at high school in the city of Buffalo, moved into a first ring suburb in Kenmore, town of Tonawanda. And then most recently in the suburbs of Williamsville and Clarence, I am a principal at a very, very special elementary school that I just could not be more happy of where I landed and what I'm currently doing here at Clarence Center Elementary.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah. And I often have people share that there was someone along the way that saw their potential as a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important as leaders to look for those traits in those that we're leading to help develop them and bring them along to be the next generation of leaders. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? I know you kick off the year with something kind of neat. So what made you come up with that or think of that? And
yeah.
I'm sure teachers appreciate it.
Yeah, I've always felt leading up to being a principal here at Clarence Center Elementary that back to school faculty meeting was such an opportunity to inspire the people that are about to do the work with the kids. I mean, what else is there to do when we're all together for the first time after a long break? So I had been dreaming about this for a while. I also very much, and I need to say this, I very much am inspired by the Savannah Bananas, Jesse Cole, Emily Cole, the book that they've written. It's all about engaging people. So you can kind of tell where my values are, and it's around those that I serve. So I had been dreaming of creating this space when you are back to school to connect and connect in a meaningful way. So last year I did my first Connection Cafe. And what that was they get an invite. I'll give you an example. It kind of looks like a wedding invite, and I can link this afterwards for you in the notes. And they come on in, and there is food from local places. So we have some local farms that support us with fresh fruit and fresh donuts. There are high top tables, low top tables, places to sit and connect with one another. I have music playing. Last year, I had a student on stage, one of our high school students playing the piano. So, meaningfully connecting with one another for purpose was the first thing that I really wanted to do with that Connection Cafe. This year, to build on that, I realized there could be more. So, I know this staff, their needs are important to me. So, we were brought together to connect, to collaborate, and then to communicate the essential info for the upcoming school year. A lot of people, when I tell them about this, they're like, how do you do all the stuff? Like, you got to do all the stuff at the beginning of the year. There's so many things. And I do that. I do all of those, but I'm very intentional because a lot of the stuff that we need to do can be communicated in like a memo form. They're action items for teachers. They absolutely are important. But if I'm directing them after we meet that these are things you can do on your own, and here you are, these are your targets and your actions you have to do, go for it. When we're together, that's that opportunity for me to stop, drop, and teach and model for them what I want to see in those classrooms and show them too that I can do it, which I think is so important as a principal. You should be able to do that. Engage others, give them a collaboration task that's not only fun, but gets them to work together to problem solve. It's very, very important to me to see that as an opportunity as a leader to bring people together, inspire, and connect. And that Connection Cafe has just done it for me. And I actually, Dr. Johnson, before this, for our podcast, I read some of the notes that some of the teachers here gave me. And I just want to point out one of them. She writes, I felt special. I felt like I belong here. I felt it was an amazing atmosphere to be myself and reconnect with others. And right there for me, like, and looking at these and hearing teachers' reactions and watching them show up ready to be a good teammate and colleague, I could not ask for more.
Yeah, that's so true. And I love the informal aspect of the cafe. That was kind of the whole purpose of this podcast was, lattes and leaders, the coffee thing in the background
Yeah.
is when I mentored as an administrator and mentor new administrators, and I would not want to meet them in the school. I would meet them at a cafe, a Starbucks or something like that, because it was kind of like your whole cafe theme. Is this a very informal setting where you don't feel like, you're on the clock, you have to be in that role. So it's more relaxing. And I think you get a lot more out of that atmosphere when it's informal. You feel more like that you're the human there instead of the professional. And so the dialogue is easier. The whole atmosphere is lighter. And I think you actually probably get more accomplished and learn more in that setting too. So I really think that's a great way to start in the year. The other thing you said that really stuck to me is giving them a memo of things to do because they're professionals and that they know what they need to do. I think
Mm-hmm.
too often, and I'm actually working on an article for this right now, we're trained as teachers in pedagogy to teach children, but I think we carry that often even unconsciously or subconsciously into our leadership role. And a lot of times you see administrators that almost try to teach and lead their staff like they would students, and they're not students, they're adults. And we have to make that transition in our mindset as leaders to lead them as adults. And so, like you said, you don't need to fill up every minute with them of busy work in the beginning of the year and have everything, step by step for them, because they are professionals and, they know what they need to get done. And so simply giving them an outline or, a memo with those things and then allowing them to, do what they need to do, I think probably alleviates a lot of stress and pressure from them at the beginning of the year as well.
I could not agree more. We know right now there are more pressures on teachers, leaders, and schools than ever. Um, and to micromanage their time is so against what I am about. They are professionals, they know what to do, so treat them like so. And I tell parents this, I tell families, I tell this whole school, I will treat adults really well, so you take exceptional care of those kids. And they do.
Mm,
You
yeah,
have to treat the adult.
absolutely.
You have to, because if you're not, there's energy that's being taken about that leadership and that culture you're creating. I would rather create a culture where we both connect on this. I believe in being the thermostat. So every single day
Yeah.
that I come in, we set that temperature. We do. We are calm. We take really good care of kids in this culture of care we create, and we work as a team. That is what we do every day, and I have to model that, because when you don't, you know that
Absolutely.
trickles down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, something keenly aware of. And I always, say that I can tell pretty quick walking into school, the culture of a school. And it really is set by the principal and how that they interact with their staff. And then that, like you said, models how the teachers and the staff will interact with the students. And it can be a powerful thing, or it can be a very disheartening thing when
Mhm.
you walk into a school to see. But yeah, to have that vision, to understand your importance in the role and helping everybody be their best in their roles is just really does create a wonderful environment for a school.
Yeah, and do you mind if I dig into that for a minute? Because I
Absolutely.
there's something else I believe, and I say all the time that the secretaries in the main office run the place. If you really think about it, the best work I can do is out in the school. They are the ones, the operational ones, all day long that keep this place going. So investing in them, investing in your front door monitor to make sure we are both safe, but also we welcome others coming in. These are things that I am not perfect at by any means, but they're absolutely things I think about, and how we can treat them, not just teachers, but everyone in the organization well, so that we have a guest like yourself that comes in. They are greeted by the front door monitor. They walk into our hallways, our custodian's coming by, and he too has his head up and says hello. All of those things, those little things to me, add up to be really big things and support just this culture of care and this healthy and high achieving culture that we're working to achieve here at Clarence Center.
Yeah. And it's everyone outside the school, that's their first impression of the school.
Mhm.
You know, like I say, when they drive onto the campus, the first thing they see is it a clean campus? Is it a well kept campus? Do they take pride in the appearance of the campus? And then, like you said, that first interaction with the humans is usually going to be the front office,
Mhm.
and how do they greet people? How do they interact with people? And it really does tell a lot, like you said, about the school and about, how they feel in their roles as being treated by the administration. So absolutely, yeah, those things are so important too.
Mhm.
With someone coming, especially parents and first time on the campus, it really does, tell a lot. So that's so important. Yeah, and I think
Mhm.
every administrator, that's a good thing to keep in mind and to remember. I think a lot of them do a really good job, but it's always good to reflect back on it and make sure that we are doing those things. How long have you been at this school?
This is my second year as principal at Clarence
Okay,
Center.
second year
Mhm.
here. Okay. So as you moved in from teaching to leadership role, what do you feel like has like maybe one or two traits that you have or strengths that have helped you be successful as a leader?
Top of the list, integrity, trust, and being a team
Mm,
player. Being someone that says what they mean and I mean what I say, having that integrity. When I communicate, you might wait a minute to hear from me, but when I do communicate, it's going to be good information. Um, Being trustworthy, you just, that is so much paramount when it comes to the qualities that you need to possess or that I need to have every single day for staff to trust me in leading this building and believing in working through some of the directives um, that we do here at school. But more so, these are people that we're serving. They have personal
mm,
lives, they have things they're going through. And it's important to me that when they're going through those things, that I can be of support, um, and that they feel comfortable sharing things with me, and that they feel like when they're here, I am here to support them being their best. And at home too, if they have to take care of that, that's that's important to know that that's not going to go anywhere when they share things with me or talk through issues that they may have with one another or someone else. That's happened over the years at every place that I've worked. And you just being someone that they can come and confidentially have that conversation, I think that's a key quality you have to have is trust. and then being a good teammate, um, rolling up my sleeves, being at the table,
Mm.
that shared decision making about what the backlot dismissal and arrival plan looks like, and then being out there to make sure the plan that you're putting in place works. Subbing in the lunchroom, being a one-to-one aid for a child when you can't find a sub. I am not too proud or not too good to do any of those things. That is essential that I do that because it's best for the school and it's best for our team, and it's important. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
like to. Yeah, absolutely, and I love that the last part, especially that you said about rolling up your sleeves, because
yeah.
I'm like in leadership, you have to be willing to scoop the poop,
Yes, I
so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah.
You really do. Nothing should be too good for the leader. It really does have to lead by example, and when you do that, you talk about building trust and respect from your staff. That is such an essential part of it. The other part too, like you shared, is listening to them, knowing what's going on in their life when they
Yeah.
have issues. The research is pretty clear that when leaders take time to have that small talk with their staff, nothing to do with work, nothing to do with anything except, how are you, how's your family, what's going on, that is such a huge trust builder with
Mhm.
them, because they see that you value them as a person. And
Absolutely.
when they feel that way and they trust you, it's kind of like just with anybody else. When we feel that with someone, there's not much we won't try to do for them. And
Yes.
that's a great culture to create in a school.
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
So as you look back on your path, and you talked about from the time you could talk practicing school,
Mhm.
is there a teacher or two or someone else that really impacted you or influenced you through the years on that course to becoming an educator?
Yeah. What comes to mind right away is an elementary teacher, Mrs. Monodoro, and she made me feel seen, heard, valued. She let me sit in her chair and teach when I was in third grade. She would always let me teach. So she comes to mind. Dr. Hunter, I told you about, I was his student. I was in that chair, one of his students. That's how that professional relationship started. And he was engaging and he saw something in me I didn't even see. So once again, like him knowing I was there, knowing the potential I had, and then communicating that to me, he stands out. Um, Another, I would say, teacher as an adult, because I just show up as a learner. I still feel like I'm learning in this role. I have a colleague, this fierce female principal, Mrs. Ashley Dribelbus, and I swear I still feel like one of her students, and we're similar in age. She is just so thoughtful in her decision making. I really believe I could call her with anything and she would always have an answer. So I'm always trying to pick up and kind of see through, peek back behind the curtain on how she makes decisions and her thought process. But those are a few people that just stand out to me. And I could go on and on because people are what matter, every single one of them. And they've all really, really influenced me. And I would actually be remiss. I have to share this. The one person that really taught me the most is my mom. I have the
Mm.
most bright, loving, just beautiful woman in my life that has just been there consistently every single day, letting me know that I can do anything that I put my mind to and to be kind to others. I can't even tell you how many hard situations I've been in. And we talk every day, and she'll say, just make sure you're being kind to others. And in this work, sometimes it's not that easy, but it's just such a reminder of who I am and what I value, really just comes from my mother.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm glad you shared that, because, when we have that influence from our parents, whether it's work ethic or, the integrity or the being kind, is just so important, because it really is instilled in us from a young age and really does influence, our whole path. So, yeah, way
Mhm.
to shout out to mom.
Bonnie Love, my girl. That's what I call her.
That's awesome. We talk a lot about building community within the
Mhm,
schools, but it's so important to reach out to the community, because
mhm,
one of the things I always say is, when you think about children, students, from about the age of 5 to about 17 or 18, they really do spend a lot of their waking hours in the school. And
Mhm.
so how do you build that community in the community or with the community? How do you
Mhm.
make that connection and bring them into the process?
I think that's all around the identity work that is deep inside of me and also something that I try to manifest here in school, which is building meaningful relationships with those you work. So, learning the identity of the students that we serve, learning about what interests them, how they spend their weekends, what their parents do, how they spend their breaks. One of the things that's new to me that I've learned here is that we're in this farming community. So I'll just call him
Mm.
Farmer S. We have a student that in the evenings, weekends, he does farming, and that's that great farm, Greg's U Pick, that actually supports us with our Connection Cafe because we found interest in them. We support them in the activities and the way that they serve our community with fresh food, vegetables, pies, all the things. But on top of that, that partnership, they see what it does for us, and it's just mutually exclusive and the way in which it supports kids. So I guess my answer in short would be just really listening and learning to the people, those that we serve, so that we can start that conversation. The other thing we have here that is very, very unique. I've never seen this at any school, and it's a long, rich tradition here at Clarence Center. Is every single Friday from 8:15 to 8:45 we have morning program and families are invited. So I get access to families. I get to greet them as they come in. They surround the perimeter of our gym when the entire school, students and staff are there to sing, celebrate. We have themes each week. It is just so dynamic, but I've really done some things with learning about families, even with my bit during the morning program. But that's a huge way in which we engage families and parents and get them to show up, to be here, and to be part of the work.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't think I've heard anyone do that, especially on
Weekly
a
basis.
consistent basis, right?
Yeah.
So that's impressive. I remember when you talked about the community and knowing the community. There was a lady from Ireland that I was talking to on one of the earlier episodes, and she talked about that she was a liaison with outreach for the families and stuff. And she said once she was out seeing their lives, the families, some what they were really going through that they really had no idea. She's like,
Mhm.
it changed my whole perspective of if little Johnny brought his homework versus I'm just glad Johnny made it to school today. And to me, that is just, such an important thing for us to remember and carry with us.
Mhm.
Know them well enough to know what's really going on and know what expectations you can have because of that and to help them be successful. So, but I love that weekly. That's powerful to bring them in and let them feel. I think the more that we have that interaction with the parents, the more at ease they are with the school and feel, because one of the things I think that sometimes when students don't like school, it's because maybe their parents didn't like school and didn't have a good experience. And so when you can bring them into a positive experience like that on a regular basis, I think that just really does build a stronger connection with them that is only going to be a positive impact on the students.
Absolutely. I've never felt such a strong family to home partnership as I do at this school, and I truly believe that that's a conduit to get there, is that routine morning program that we do on
Mm.
Fridays.
Yeah, I think so. I like that. And I think probably some that hear that will try to figure out how to add that in too, because that does sound like a powerful, powerful piece.
It is, and that could be a whole other podcast because I think you might assume this about me. There is no free for all. It is planned. There is parent etiquette. There is student etiquette. Students are actually the hosts. There's a lot of pieces to this. Again, all
Mm.
coming from this beautiful and incredible staff that has been here for so many years. They've built this, and I've just sustained the incredible work they're doing. But think about it, try things. If they don't work, make adjustments and keep going. It's worth it.
You talk about them being there a long time. I think that's such a key that sometimes in education, especially in bigger districts, that we lose sight of is the importance of consistency in the
Mhm.
school with the leader, with the staff, low turnover. When we see schools that have low turnover, we tend to see schools that perform better. They have a better
Mhm.
culture. They have, greater impact. And I
Mhm.
think that's huge too. So it's encouraging to hear that your staff has, a lot of them have been there for a while, because that means
Mhm.
that's a place they want to stay and they want to work,
Well,
which
imagine
ultimately
though,
benefits the kids.
of course, and imagine though how they did a great job in the hiring process because I was someone that was going to come in and learn about them and their assets and all of the things and talents that might not even be tapped into yet. And we've sustained a lot of what they've done before, and then a lot of new things have happened because they can do it. They have passions that you just need to listen and learn and give them space to do it and space to make mistakes. Like we make mistakes often, but we just learn from them and we keep going. So like leaders again that embrace that, and again going with your Dear School Leader book, not trying to be perfect. We are not trying to be perfect by
Right.
any means here. I talk to them about we just do good every day. We do consistently good every single day here instead of sometimes coming out and being outstanding. That's not us. We are consistently good.
That's powerful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. So, being in a role and knowing the time that it takes and the energy you put into it, especially when you go above and beyond, how do you, or do you, have a self care plan?
Yeah. Of course I do, but you know what the answer to this is. It's taken time. It's taken time to figure that out, but I think the most important thing I've learned is that I have to take care of myself and my family or else I cannot do this job well. And I'm very clear about that with the staff too. I cherish my Sunday family dinners. I cherish time
Mm,
with my husband, who also is a school principal. We have to be really thoughtful about how we spend our time at home because it can very easily be taken up by this work. But I bike ride. Bike riding is a really good way for me to really just release fresh air, the sunshine. I'm also really big into music. So I've got these power playlists on my Amazon playlist list that just either get me geared up for things or help me wind down.
mm,
Many times, if I'm walking and grooving, it's because I'm singing songs in my head. That really helps me. Oh, and I love, 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 love 2 or 3 day trips. I'm not someone that likes to go away
mm,
for like a week at the holidays. My husband and I try on weekends every 2 months to do these 2 day trips, drivable trips. And that really helps me feel refreshed. I get new experiences, I get to meet new people. And we do things or find things there to bring back to the building and to support our work. But that's exciting to me because I'm passionate about doing this. But it took a while to get to this space. I used to just burn myself out, but quickly from those, my village around me was like, don't do it. Don't do it. You have to take care of yourself.
So, how do you separate that? That's interesting, because you and your husband are both principals. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of unique in and of
Yeah.
itself. How do you keep from both bringing your work home
Yeah.
and venting to each other, or
He's so good at it. You actually have the wrong person on this podcast. He should be here. He is so good at self care. That man, I tell you, he doesn't vent unless I like really pull it out of him. Like, what's going on? Like, do you need help with anything? Doesn't vent. He's really good about knowing that he needs that time to decompress at home and just spend time with us, spend time with our families. That might be, though, that's a value that's like deeply instilled in him. His parents instilled that in him. They are both very strong people. With me, I don't know what it is. I just want to work, work, work. So he many times he's a good reminder about
Mm,
shifting our focus. And sometimes he'll even do if I'm like working on something at home and it's getting into the evening. Heidi, you want to take a bike ride? Like he knows the things to get me out of
right.
that space. Turning the music on, a coffee date for him and I, or him talking about the next trip. He's really, really good at planning trips for us and like that being consistent. He enjoys doing that. And that's a good way for me, like reminder of I have to be a good wife, a good daughter, a good sister, a good aunt, a good friend. He's just such a great example of that. And I feel incredibly blessed that I get to live with him and spend my life with him. 10 years of marriage we just celebrated.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to have someone that actually helps you keep in check with that.
Mhm.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
Is there, thinking on the different things you've experienced, I'm sure you've had major challenges and things. What would be one piece of advice you would give to someone wanting to move into a leadership role or feel like that they're ready to?
Yeah. Time. Like the challenge is time. There's never enough time to do all the
Mm,
things that you want to do for kids and adults, for your staff. So the challenge is learning how to really prioritize time. The way in which, and again, I'm still learning and trying to get better at this, but being intentional about how I spend that time, being thoughtful about if something does come up and there is a crisis, how that's going to take me away from something. And now what? You just missed half your day, but there are other things you need to attend to. It's a lot of decision making. So when you ask about challenges, that was definitely a challenge at the beginning. Just again, not wanting to burn myself out, but very easily getting to that place because there's so much to do. But now being in a better place of knowing, keeping a calendar. I'm quite organized with
mm,
my calendar on how I'm spending my time, when I'm doing my office work. I know myself that my most productive time is between 5:30 into the early morning. So if there's a big project I'm working on, I know that that's first thing in the morning I'm doing it because later in the day I want to be walking and talking. I want to be in
mm.
classrooms. So just reflection, knowing yourself to get through those challenges. I believe you can do it, but you need that village around you. You need to be able to talk to people, for someone to check you to say, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Step back.
Yeah, I think time management really is critical, like you said, because it's never done. So if you
Mhm.
if you don't know how to prioritize and set those limits, set those boundaries, like you said, you'll burn yourself out because you could go
Absolutely.
24 hours and never get it all done. So, I think that's in education in general, even with teachers, it's never done.
Hmm.
And once you realize that and come to terms with it and realize it's okay, that makes a big difference. So that, I think that's really good for new administrators and even some veteran administrators to remember, is that you have to prioritize that time and take time, because there's such stress, there's such burnout now, that you really do have to be more aware of that.
I also think too, someone said this to me. I wish I could remember, but it's like, don't be a slave to your email. That's somebody else's to do list. Like,
Mm.
I have my Google Doc of my project list and things I'm working on, and me getting out there, talking to people, getting feedback. Like, that's the work you're doing. Like, email checking and responding to people, that could be a portion of your day. But I very much, I never, ever, ever want to be a slave to my email, be someone that just sits in my office and responds. Like, you want to ask me something? Ask me. Let's talk about it. Let me see it. That is someone else's to-do list for you, so never start your day checking email, ever. That
I
is my
like
advice to
that.
any new administrator.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. I definitely want to have you back on maybe in the spring to share
Oh,
more
sure.
about the family weekly
Yeah,
event and share some ideas, because I'm sure some people would be very interested in that, especially wanting to develop, a better relationship with the parents and the community. So I think that's something that would be good to kind of dive into a little bit. So, but anyway, thank you for sharing your time today
yeah,
and being with us. And your cafe sounds amazing. And it is a great way to
yeah.
start the school year in like a very informal kind of light atmosphere. I think the teachers appreciate that, and kind of let you ease back into the school year. So thank you again for taking the time, and I hope you have a awesome school year.
We will. We will. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I greatly appreciate your time and the listeners today.
This has been Lattes and Leaders with Dr. Brad Johnson. We hope that you leave today feeling informed and inspired. For more educational content, be sure to add this podcast to your list and follow Dr. Johnson on any and all social media platforms. For more information on Dr. Johnson, Jeremy Johnson, and special guest, check out drbradjohnson.com. That is DOCTOR, bradjohnson.com. Hope to have you back soon.